That's podcast. It's just that. It's just a still image. I think it might be better just like that, honestly.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think it looks
like you're
better.
saying,
Yeah, I think it
yeah,
looks
I think
better.
like you were saying with cameras off, it looks a lot better.
Yeah, that's so we'll just do that then. Yeah, yeah. Then I'll just turn off the camera here because we don't really need it here. Cool. Um, yeah, there you go. Now they can hear you and they can hear me as well. Cool. Hello everyone. Welcome again to our amazing podcast. Early in this week, because we're meant to do it on Friday, but here we are on Mondays with special guests, the Environmental Society, and we're here with Jeffrey. Why don't you say
Hello,
hi?
hello. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet everyone.
What do you do, Jeffrey? What course you do?
So believe it or not, I do environmental sciences,
No way.
and yeah, and I'm in my final year.
So you're almost done. That's cool. That's cool. Has
Yeah.
your course been alright? Have you found it enjoyable? Has it been hard? What do you think?
Um, yeah, I'd say it's been fun. So we like each year you do like I guess a specific thing that's I guess quite fun. So in our first year we had a trip to Dorset. That was like a couple of like a 4 day trip to Dorset. Last year we were lucky. Oh, sorry, not last year. 2 years ago. Um, Over the summer we had like a trip to Tenerife where we got to explore the island, and it was all about looking at the wildlife and how like Tenerife's it's one place, it's an island that's got really cool characteristics about it. So it's got both like a tropical rainforest and like a really dry desert on the same island.
But that sounds
So
really
yeah, we
cool.
yeah, honestly, like it's so weird. Like you'll go to the north of the island and it's like rainforest. It's always like raining most of the time. And then you'll like travel to the south, and the south is like really dry, like sand. Um, and yeah, it's just like it was really, really cool to be there and to do that. And it was nice. We got to see like dolphins and stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that would be my favorite thing.
Wait, how far away was it from the university? How much did you guys have to
Uh,
travel?
Yeah, so the university like paid for our accommodation, so we got to stay over for a whole week. So luckily it was at the end of the academic year, so like all our exams had been done. It was just like the week, I think it was the week after or 2 weeks after finishing our exams, we got to do this. But yeah, I decided to go for a bit of a holiday beforehand with my siblings, so that way we could just I could rest before having to do like a week long coursework. So. Yeah.
Mhm. That does sound like really chill and laid back for sure. I wish, I
That
wish.
sounds way more appealing than other courses.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the thing that on like open days and if there's like if our lecturers go to any schools to like promote our course, that's one of the things they like to throw out there and just be like, oh, you know, in second year you get to go to Tenerife, so make sure you apply.
In second year, I got to stay at home. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
um,
no, it was really good.
tell us a bit about your course then. What exactly is environmental sciences?
Um,
Or
it's
environmental, is it sciences?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
environmental sciences. I'd say in like a nutshell, it's a bit of everything. So it's essentially looking at how humans influence the environment and then analyzing how, I guess, we've changed our environment for the like since humans have been around. So like each year looks at it from a different perspective. So the first year is just like a general introduction on the topic and talking about generally like learning about like what the environment is, like the history of our environment, so going from like the Big Bang all the way up to present history. And then the second year is more about looking at the problems, so essentially how humans have like caused damage to the environment, so whether it's through climate change, whether it's through like pollution, so whether that's like air pollution or um, chemical pollution. And then the third year is all about looking at solutions. So it's like what we've got all these issues, how can we then go about to fix them? So we've like started a module this term all about like nature-based climate solutions. So looking at nature and seeing what things in nature could we use to improve these these climate problems. So yeah, it's I guess that's it in a nutshell. But it's like I said, we work with like a wide range of courses because it's like such an open thing. Because like you can imagine, the environment, I guess it's like everything involves the environment in some way, shape, or form. So whether you're an engineer and you're building, like a building or you're building a car, you're still going to be using materials from the environment. Whether you're like a biomedical scientist or you want to specialize in health, the environment can have impacts on health and cause like it can, I guess, be used to help treat certain things, but also the environment and I guess things that happen in the environment like pollution can cause illnesses as well. So yeah, so we work with like a wide ranges of courses at the university. So yeah, it's quite nice to I guess know that like once you graduate, you've got like a wide range of careers that you can go into, like go and focus in. And if you the good thing is when you go to, if you want to go and do a master's afterwards, it gives you the opportunity to essentially like pick a variety of courses.
Mhm. I mean, for sure, for sure. I find that like super interesting because like even for myself, I'm studying engineering. It is something like we have to always bear in mind, like the effects on the environment and all that.
Mm,
So it is super good to see like just a specific like subject, like a course just dedicated to that. I find it like super impressive. Um,
okay.
Talking about that, like what kind of projects do you guys do, like, or have you done, for example, for
Oh,
yeah, for your course?
so for our course, we for the third years they're not doing it, but for the second and first years, and we the current third years did it on our second and third year as well. We had a module that's basically called Leadership for Sustainability. So it's all about like improving sustainability in you can either be a local area, it can be on campus, or it can be both. So myself, I in my first year, I came up with this creative platform called New Generation Brunel. And it looks at basically promoting sustainable living, whether it's through, I guess, like your meal, whether it's through the products you buy, so using more eco-friendly products, products with less plastic, or whether it's like through sustainable and ethical fashion. So, buying these really cool materials that you can reuse for a long period of time. So what's been really good and I guess really fun about doing this project is, before COVID, we used to like run annual fashion shows. So we ran two fashion shows, and those were both like really fun. But then obviously when COVID hit, we had to like change to more online content. So
You can still
we've
do a
been
fashion show online, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But we thought because we're not I mean like we're not tech experts to try and run a fashion show online. um, but one of the things we thought would be really cool is like having an interview series or like a Q&A series, where people, whether they're like young people like us or their businesses or just people who like to campaign about whether it's sustainable fashion, sustainable living, or encouraging consumers to think more sustainably. We thought it'd be really important for I guess people to learn about it. So we recently, well, last year we started a series. It's called Sustainable Me, and we've had like a whole range of designers and like activists and different people on the page. And this year, we recently just started our second series, so that's focusing more on the topic of climate change. So, telling people about the different aspects and the different fields. And I guess that's one of the things that doing these projects is, I guess, highlighted, because you might not necessarily. I guess at first when I heard about like the environment and fashion, you don't know. I guess and you don't really, without doing that research, know how complex both I guess fields can be and how they're interlinked. So yeah, that's one of the projects I've been doing on my course. Um, but also as a society, we've recently started a podcast series of our own.
Oh,
So that
sick.
is yeah, so it's called Sustainable. Not so sustainable. It's not called Sustainable Me. It's called Into the Spotlight, and this is like looking at environmental issues. So we recently uploaded our first episode last week. On It's on Spotify, on Buzzsprout, which is like an online podcasting website. And it's basically our first guests were a group called Geo Leo, who they do eco music, which I didn't even know was a thing.
I didn't even know
Um,
that was a thing.
yeah.
What is eco music? How would you describe that?
So it's apparently it's music that in its, I guess, in its process will include some form of environmentalism. So whether it's the message that they're rapping about or is about, environmental issues, or whether it's, the production process, so the actual making of the music is done in a sustainable way. So whether it's, they use I don't know, renewable, not renewable resources, but they use like resources to with the like music production. So they use, I don't know, like empty bottles to like make the sounds that they incorporate, whether they use different things like that to try and reduce the amount of, I guess, energy that they use to, because obviously if they're using like online equipment, they'll be using energy, so trying to reduce their, like, I guess, their carbon footprint as well. But yeah, they've been like, there was really good to talk with them. They like highlighted, I guess, how important music is to different movements, and they raised the fact that maybe having the music industry and the music itself to focus on tackling the environmental issues like climate change or like just like fast fashion. They said it would be a really good thing. But yeah, those are just, I guess, a quick summary of the two like projects I've worked
Um,
and then as an individual.
that's pretty cool. I mean, this whole thing with environmental health, health. I don't know if that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, with caring about the environment or whatever. It has been like a big topic like as of recently. I
Mm,
remember like what it was like 10 years ago. I used to see all them like shows and like them skits and them music videos on Disney. Like they were
mm.
dedicated to this, and I always thought that was like super cool. And now it's cool to see like it's such a big thing like nowadays. Um, and you guys have the society made. Like, how does the society like differ from your course? What do you guys do in the society?
So our society's, I guess, more of like an open platform for
Yeah.
people to come and, talk about these individual issues that they want to raise. One of our committee members is the current environment and ethics officer, so she uses it as a platform to also, help these students who, want to campaign about environmentalism on campus. So one of the things she's, recently helped with is there's concern about, well, before COVID there was concern about like the plastic usage on campus, so not having a lot of refill stations around campus. So I think there's one in the library, and then there's one in the lecture center, or like there's a set in the lecture center. But one of the things, like, like people were raising was, without having all these refill stations, the more people are going to want to buy like plastic bottles. They might not necessarily reuse them. Even if they do reuse them, they'll eventually throw them away. So we've like used the society to help tackle these environmental issues on campus, and use it as a way to campaign for the well, not only the university but the union itself to become more sustainable.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't think I've ever seen one of them refill stations ever. And I've wandered around quite a bit through campus. I don't think I've ever seen it. Yeah.
I mean, if I just come in here, I had a question based on everything you've said so far.
Okay.
How relevant and important do you think it is for not just yourself who actually does the course, but for other students to get involved and promote these environmental issues now and today?
I'd say it's really important. I'd say it's I think, and that's one of the things that I'm not saying this is the case for everyone, but one of the things I've seen, not only as like an individual, but I've seen others talk about it, is that not having all the information to why this is like why these issues need to be tackled. So obviously, like one of the things we discussed on our course last year was the climate strikes that were happening in schools. So you had children walking out of schools, leaving their classes to campaign for in agreement with what Greta Thunberg was talking about. And yeah, I thought it was quite good to see these students going out there, but like from like family friends around that age, I saw that quite. They said like some people in their class like didn't care about the message behind it. It was just
Yeah,
if I
just
get
like
to leave
skip
school,
class. Yeah.
exactly, just
Yeah.
if I get to leave early, I'll take it. But no, I think it's when when individuals themselves empower themselves in this knowledge of understanding why people are doing these things, why it's important to make sure that you know temperature doesn't increase too high, or why it's important to make sure we look after these, these species. I know one of the things that I didn't know at the start of my course, which was really important, was the protection of bees, and
Mm.
how like
Oh yeah, for sure.
bees, yeah, like bees, they're like, so they're in a group called pollinators, and it basically means that they help to pollinate certain crops. So they help to essentially with the growth of these crops. And one of the things that I didn't know before was the amount of like food and drinks that are basically only around because there are pollinators, and it'll like surprise you. Like things like rice is like one that comes to mind, but there's like a whole host that if like bees didn't exist or bee populations dropped, um, they just wouldn't be there anymore. And it just raised that importance, and it just really just highlighted to me the importance of, you know, we need to do a lot more to protect our planet. I know, you see Elon Musk and every other billionaire coming up with it's either space travel. I've heard some people talking about living underwater.
Living
Um,
underwater.
yeah,
How would that help? I mean,
I don't even, I'm just like, while that's great to think about in the future, it's most important to think about the planet we're currently living on.
the present, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
because yeah, I think like different climate activists, and you've got people like David Attenborough in the UN saying that this the next few years will be the time of like immediate change, and the main question that will be asked in 10 years time or even 20 years time is, why didn't people do more? And I think that's one of the main things that it should be important for anyone who does want to get involved in, whether it's environmental science or involved in a form of environmentalism as a whole.
Mhm. I mean, there
Well,
is
that's a great response.
it
I
is a really
think
good
we
response.
Thank you.
There is a bunch of activities as well, like at uni, that do promote this. I know, besides
Mm,
just the society and the course. I know one I participated in like last year, like you had the Ready program, like they do like try to
yes.
make it so you do build like it's an entrepreneur thing. You have to design something that is environmentally like sustainable.
Mm,
I know there's the student switch off campaign as well that promotes like light saving and electricity saving. So I think the uni has like quite a few opportunities as well for anyone who does want to be involved in all these things for sure.
exactly.
And it's like the minimum we could do, like, is just like try to help out the environment for sure while we're still using it. um, what about like what kind of like activities do you guys like have been doing in the society like ever since it's been a thing? Like, what do you?
um,
Yeah.
yeah, so from the start, we in 2019 we had this event called Innovators of the Future. So this was supposed to be or that was run. It had like external companies come in. So we had people like people from Morgan Sindel. We had people from an organization called STEM Learning. We had some like small businesses and entrepreneurs. So we had this person called from this company called I think it's called Nadia Essie. But it's that one is a company that uses natural. It's a hair product company, but all their ingredients in the process are natural. They try and use, it's all done in the UK to stop carbon emissions from taking it from other countries. But yeah, we had all these different entrepreneurial societies on campus and some off, and organizations come in, and we wanted it to be an opportunity for students to not only for students to, I guess, learn about like what these companies are doing to help, you know, innovate the future and come up with things that will help the future. So one of the companies we had there, they're called Reconomy, and they focus on like e-waste, so things like old laptops, old phones, old keyboards, anything electrical that people don't use anymore. They actually take all that waste and put it to good use. Because I think one of the things that people might not know is the materials that go into like phones and laptops and like computers. They're all like rare metals, and these rare metals, currently there's like a limit on them, and everyone can hope that the next genius or next company will come up with a way to something to replace them, but they are like rare metals, and they are sort of there is a limit on how much is used, and you've got like people who, every year might buy their new iPhone, or you know if it's I don't know, if they've got a contract on their phone, they'll upgrade their phone to get the latest phone because they want to get all the latest features. But what's really good about that company is they take in all this like waste, and then they reuse the materials in the phone. So that's like one of the reasons why we had them there. But the other factor of this event was it was also supposed to give students the opportunity to highlight, all these interesting things that they do to employers, because one of the main aims, one of the things as a society that we want to highlight is students not only at Brunel, but universities worldwide. They do these like amazing projects and amazing things, and sometimes they themselves might not know, I guess, where they can go to raise awareness about this thing that they're doing. So whether it's like you said, they're creating an eco-friendly, environment friendly product, whether it's they've started their own business that's is a small fashion business that does sustainable fashion. They might not necessarily have a platform to raise awareness about this. So that was one of the things that we did with the event. We wanted it to give students the ability to turn to employers and say, well, you might not have heard of me before, but I'm this student and I do this, this, and this. And, I work on all these amazing projects. So, yeah, that's one of the events we run. And, fingers crossed, if everything's back to normal this time next year,
We hope
then,
so. We hope so.
yeah,
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed. Then we're hoping to do another one next year as well. So run it again with a wider range of organizations, so that way, students will be able to, for any student that's looking for a placement, or is looking for a graduate opportunity or graduate schemes that they could apply for. Our main hope is that by doing this event, they'll be able to find the right business for them. But yeah, obviously with COVID and stuff being happening, we've had to move to online. So we're trying to do some game nights as well to get people into it. Like I said, we've got the podcast series that we'll be uploading monthly. So we've got our next episode next month.
Make sure to check it out, yeah.
Yeah, make sure to check it out. Spotify, I think the title is, well, hopefully you should find it by going to Brunel Environmental Society on Spotify. But if not, if you go to the Brunel Environmental, that's our Instagram page and our Twitter page, then it's in our bio there. If you click on it, it'll show you like 3 links, and then if you go to the Into the Spotlight podcast. And we're always looking for new people to have on the podcast and to talk about these environmental issues. So if anyone listening wants to get involved, just send us a message, give us a quick DM on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll see you on the series.
It does really sound super interesting for sure. Into the Spotlight, that's the name of the podcast, yeah. So for anyone interested, do check it out. Yeah. So you were talking about like these different projects and all that they've seen. What do you think, in your opinion, is like the most interesting one that you've seen out there?
Ooh, from our Brunel students, or in general.
Why not both? From Brunel and in general, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So at Brunel, one of the things that I saw, and it actually went to pass and kept on going. So in my first year at Brunel, some of my mates had a real passion for tackling plastic pollution. So they raised the point of, Brunel has Costa, we've got Starbucks, and they were saying that there isn't anywhere on campus that sells reusable mugs. So they worked with the Taste Kingdom, and they started this, or they helped them with this campaign called Simply Cups. So the whole idea of it was supposed to be like a month of the Taste Kingdom encouraging people to think about their plastic waste, to know, I guess, the proper ways to deal with it. So obviously, I guess, and it's the same thing with plastic bottles is plastic bottles are recyclable, but one of the things that I didn't know before that we learned in class is when you want to even if it's like a plastic a plastic tray you get from, I don't know, like if you go out to like Sainsbury's and something, and you buy something that comes with like plastic tray, and you want to recycle it, you need to make sure that you wash it before you recycle it. And if it's like a plastic bottle, you have to remove the wrapping on it that says, like, if it's like a Diet Coke bottle, you have to remove the wrapping that says Diet Coke, because that bit actually isn't recyclable. It's only the bottle itself, and there's things like that that we didn't know about. So that campaign was really good because they like surveyed students, they got data, they gave it to the Case Kingdom, which gave it to the university to raise the issue of students didn't know about these things, and to help them encourage that. So I thought that was a really good project to tackle sort of sustainable waste on campus. So I think that was really, and I know even after they left, it was still going on. I don't know if it's going to go on this year, but yeah, I thought it was a really good thing on campus that was being done. And I think, I guess wider. That's an interesting question.
I mean, I'll
Wider.
tell you right now, what you were saying about Brunel, I had no idea about that whole that like these the wrappers or whatever, like from bottles, they weren't recyclable. So like you've opened my eyes right now. I didn't actually know that. For like
Yeah,
cans and
no,
my law. Yeah.
you're welcome. And honestly, like it's even with like plastic pollution, I'm telling you, I can get into a whole thing about that. But I guess the one thing that I will say is when it comes to plastic, like recycling plastic, anything plastic, just keep an eye out on the label. So there's different like plastic labels, and they all mean like different things. So there's some labels mean that this material is recyclable. There's one, I don't know if you've seen it before. It's like it's two arrows in a circle. They're like and there's like a green arrow, and there's like it's
I'm
sort of
looking
like a
at it
yin
right
and
now. Don't
yang.
worry. I'm looking at it
Yeah,
right
you look at oh perfect. But yeah, that one actually doesn't mean that the product is recyclable. Um, it just means that the company contributes to this like European recycling scheme. But it doesn't mean the product itself is recyclable. And that was one of the things that I learned, and I was just like, wow, I've seen it for ages, and I was just like, it's perfectly fine. Let me just do that and go. I can always just recycle it. It's perfectly fine. And then when I found out, I was just so shocked. So yeah, so since then I've been like always like keeping an eye out to see is this the right label? But yeah, honestly, it's one of those things where companies will do it because they know consumers might not know the difference between the labels. So yeah, I'd always encourage people to keep an eye out for that as well. Um, but yeah, I think I've got one now for the wider I guess world.
now.
So I've got a mate of mine who goes to, I don't remember what university she goes to, but she goes to another university, and she's got a whole focus on sustainable fashion. And what I really like about her page is like I think she only started it maybe like last year, just before lockdown, or maybe the year before. But what she does is she's like encouraged like people so she's educated people. She's done like interviews. She's done like short reels on Instagram to say, these are like why it's perfectly okay to, like rewear an outfit. Or like these are three ways you could, you could wear the same outfit, but like style them in different ways so they look different. So whether it's, you say wear the same top, but you change the trousers and shoes and the jumper, or, things like that. And she's like raised why, secondhand fashion, or like wearing clothes that, if you've got older siblings, wearing your older sibling clothes, why that's like not a bad thing. So yeah, I think that's been really good because I know like one of the things that especially, people our age, I guess, struggle with is, this whole idea of, you can't, like, some people have an issue with wearing like clothes handed down from older siblings. Some people have an issue with like secondhand clothing because they think it's not the same quality. I know secondhand clothing can be super expensive, but there are like good alternatives, and that's one of the things that my friend highlights. So she says like go on like there's apps like Vintage, sorry, or Depop that you can like go on, and they're like most of the time there'll be like local sellers who like create the designs that they sell on there themselves. They're always from like repurposed clothing. There's some on there that will like repurpose your own clothing, which is really cool. So you can send them like an old t-shirt, and then you could tell them, I don't know, like you wanted something else, like whether it was, if it was like you wanted, like if you wanted crop top or something like that, you could just ask them for like whatever you wanted, and they'll like redo it for you. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, she's just been using that to like raise awareness. She's done like online, like I guess sustainable fashion challenges. So doing things like that, and she's been running like motivational Tuesdays to like encourage people to stay motivated during lockdown. And yeah, it's been really good. So yeah, I guess that would be my outside of Brunel project that I'd highlight.
It is for sure. That's super good project, I think. Cause yeah, like after a while, like most clothes they just go to waste. Like
Mm,
unless you have like an older sibling to like inherit your old clothes and all that, like they just kind of get binned after a while, isn't it?
exactly.
So being able to reutilize them for like completely something else, it might
Yeah.
seem like effort, but like sometimes it is kind of worth it at the end. Not only are
Mm,
you saving money, but like you're helping out the environment for sure. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and based on that, do you think now we're seeing a generational shift of our generation accepting that this needs to happen, so we're reducing the amount of clothes we buy?
Yeah, I think we are. I think also, so like, it's interesting because we had this discussion last term. Because one of the things that was raised, and like it happened over Black Friday, it happened last summer. There were like loads of shops because obviously people weren't buying as much clothing. They were doing all these like really big sales, so they were just like, oh, I think one of the things that I saw someone post was that, who was it? It must have been like Boohoo or a website like them were like selling dresses for like 1p. They were just like some massive discount. So I think there is a generational change. I think especially the younger generation are like forgetting the mindset of like I need to buy the latest thing, and they're starting to understand that there are benefits to, I guess, reusing my old outfits. Like one of the things that I love to say whenever I talk about fashion is like fashion always goes in cycles. There's So like you might be wearing something now and it's not fashionable. Come like the next 2-3 years, it's back in fashion. And if someone's like been that piece of clothing or type of material, then that's just been like a huge waste. So I've always said like always be aware that clothes do like have that cycle. And I've also said like why not make like fashion your own thing? Like you've got your own unique style, and I think a lot of people are finding that. So whether it's you I'm the type of person that any of my t-shirts, I love to have t-shirts with writing on them. Whether it's like from like writing that's come with the shirt, or sometimes I've bought like t-shirts that are blank and then just like painted on my own writing.
Some
Yeah, like
crayons, yeah.
yeah, yeah, like things like that. I just think it's good to like have your individual style. So yeah, I definitely think that that's true. I think there's a generational shift, and the amount of like people that you see that's been like campaigning, whether it's online, offline, like, and I think one of one of the benefits of lockdown has been that more people have been engaging with these like the online content that's been about the protecting the environment. You've had the David Attenborough documentaries like Blue Planet, like that was made monumental like change before lockdown, and I've spoken to people who've been watching it over lockdown. So yeah, I think it's been really good, and I think it's a continual change that young people are making sure, and also not only making sure that they themselves are doing these changes, but keeping their government and their local MPs accountable as well. So whether it's there's not enough recycling bins, or there needs to be more posters talking about plastic pollution and its damages or things like that. I think those are really improved. And once lockdown's over, it'll be, I guess, amazing to see what people can now do that they're back to face to face.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's great to see our generation doing something good because we're always targeted by the older generation by saying they don't do much, they're lazy, but we're just like, we care about the environment.
So true.
Um, how's specifically how's this society been like impacted with this whole pandemic thing? Because it isn't like anything we could have prevened
Mm.
against, really.
No, definitely. I won't lie, it's been tough, especially at the start. I think, because so I think two members of the committee, so myself and someone else, we both live at home. So there was this whole thing of, even if, at the start people were just like, it might start to ease up during the year. There was this whole concern that we had of, even if we do, switch, we were able to go back on campus, how would we be doing all this, content? So it did, I guess, affect the way that we did things. We had planned to do speaker events with people. But yeah, we just felt like it's good, and I think that's what we all agreed and were happy with the podcast that we went with, because we felt that doing a podcast rather than having these speaker events or anything like that, it gives people the time to listen to the podcast when they want. It gives them the time to engage with our content in a in the time that they want, rather than feeling like they have to do it there and then. But also, lockdowns enabled us to work a lot more with other academic societies. So we've had the pleasure of working with Novia Brunel, so they focus on like women in STEM. We've worked a lot with the Brunel's Robotic and Engineering
You
Society.
guys got president as well. That's cool.
Yeah, we've like helped them out on events. We've worked with the Biomed Society on campus as well, or Biosciences Society on campus as well, and the Civil Engineering Society. So it's been. I mean, it's not what we expected we didn't expect this year to be like this, but it's been a great opportunity to work with all these different societies and different online organizations and, create content with them. So yeah, we're definitely happy about that.
What do you feel like could be next for the whole society? Like, what do you see in the future for the society?
Oof, that's a that's a big question.
It is a big question.
um, yeah, I think we see on well, I guess from a committee point of view, we see more people engaging with environmental issues. We definitely want more people to come up with these amazing projects. I know, like I said at the start, environmental science has a project scheme that sort of pushes the students themselves to improve sustainability on campus or in the local area. But I think we want to see more of our members engaging with themselves, and we're more than happy to support any projects that someone wants to do, whether it's they want to do like a walk scheme through Black Forest isn't too far from the university, whether it's things like that. One of the things that I learned in my first year that like stuck with me, and it sort of links to what I was saying before about how environmental science is like related to loads of different things, is in our first year we had a day trip to I think it's either Black Park or Black Forest. It's like near campus, but I'm not sure if that's the name. But it's like a local forest, and it's not far from like Pinewood Studios. Um, so like what was really cool was our lecturer was saying that as an environmental scientist, he knows friends who like worked for Pinewood Studios when it comes to like filming a TV show or a film, to be like this is to test the local area to make sure it's okay for them to film. They've been like consultants on film, so to say like is this like an accurate tree you would see in like this part of the world. So like one of the cool things they said was like parts of that forest had been filmed, like Captain America, the first Avenger,
Oh, is it
had
actually
been
that?
filmed. Yeah, like part of the I think there's a wood scene in the film, and they were just like that wood scene had been filmed, and like that park. They like closed the whole park, filmed it there. They said other films as well, like medieval dramas. I think they said, I think Merlin. It might not have been Merlin, but like I know another like big show was filmed there as well. So yeah, so it's nice to, and like we're hoping that once everything's I guess back to normal, that we'll be able to engage with these organizations. So whether it's we get someone from Pinewood Studios to talk about you know how they are like how life as an environmental consultant for the studio works, or whether it's someone in sort of linking with GeoLeo, like someone from a music company, whether it's like Sony Music or someone like that, to explain why how the environment influences the music industry. So yeah, so we see loads of like different projects in the future that can help benefit our students, give students the opportunity to work with these organizations, whether it's like for a placement, summer internship, a placement year, or a graduate opportunity. But also like the main focus we want to do, because I know like I've still got friends who joke about this, that environmental science isn't it's just I've had people say it's about tree hugging and like keeping trees. I don't know, like looking after trees and stuff. We want to show it's like it impacts like a wide area. It's got
Of course it
it's
does.
it's got like a wide scheme of like fields that you can work with, fields it affects, and the only way that we're going to be able to look after the environment and protect it is if we get all these different fields to work and like work together. So it's interesting to see that you've got like economists talking about climate change. You've got climate change. So yeah, I think that's our plan for the future. So yeah, fingers crossed. COVID's over soon, and then we can start to work towards these amazing things.
COVID is over party, yeah. Everyone's invited. Question. Do you feel Brunel tackles well this whole topic of environmental development and everything like that?
Um, I'd say in some areas, yes. So like the schemes that you and activities that you mentioned at the start. So the Brunel's switch off scheme was really good. I know in my first year there was like a competition that I don't know if they're still running it, but it used to be run on campus with different accommodations, and the whole plan was it was like you would measure each accommodation's. I think it was a part of the switch off scheme, but it was like measuring their energy output for a whole week.
Each
Yeah,
hall, yeah, in each hall, yeah. Or
yeah, and
something like that, yeah. And the winner got like ice cream or Ben and Jerry's. I think that's what they were doing, yeah.
exactly. And yeah, we just felt like like things like that are really good. There before, like during Green Week, I think the previous environmental and ethics officer, what she used to do is she used to like get all the like rubbish and waste. Luckily it was only for one day, so the campus like didn't stink of like rubbish for a whole day. But she'd put it in the quad to like show, I guess, the amount of waste that gets produced. Like on campus. So it would just like highlight that, and people would like walk past it all day and see, like this is the amount of waste that gets produced. But yeah, I think it does in some areas. I think obviously with like some things there'll always be needs for improvement. So like we discussed the water bottle and water refill stations, and having more of those in different places on campus can really support students. There's also apparently it's not working, but I think the environmental ethics officer is in the process of getting it fixed. There was a thing on campus where I'm not sure if you've seen it. I know it's in the library, and it's like upstairs in the junction. But there's like a machine where you could I think it was plastic bottles and cans. You could give it like a plastic bottle or a can, and then you basically would get paid for recycling these different products. So I don't know. I think you had to create an account, and the whole plan was supposed to be you if you recycled like a plastic bottle, it will tell you how much you've recycled, and you get paid a certain amount for doing that. Apparently, that machine stopped working. But if it's fixed, that's it's a good way to encourage people to get involved. So I do think Brunel is tackling these different topics within the environment, and it is doing better in some than others. But I think there's always room to go the extra mile, do more, and I think that's what they're planning on doing. So yeah, I'd say that's my opinion on it.
What specifically would you change? Would you change if you had like the power to do anything at university? What do you think?
I can all I can just hear in my head is like someone saying something about tuition fees.
No, 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 no.
But I think if I had the power, definitely I think the refill stations and like having posters about plastic pollution as well would be one of the things. I think also because luckily my placement was with like a team in Brunel. So one of the things that I started to do is have like stickers next to light switches to tell people, like remind them to switch them off, with plug sockets to switch them off. Like another thing that I learned about plug sockets, which I had no idea before, is even if you leave something plugged in, and like you switch the switch to off, it's still taking like energy out of it. So because it's that's why the whole, like when you like plug something into a plug socket and turn it on, so like if you plug your kettle into the socket and then turn it on, that's why like it will immediately, the energy is like right there straight away, because it's just charging it, like the energy is like still going through it even though the off switch off. So like I didn't know that before, but that's why like when I was on my placement, I put up posters to say like if you're not using a plug socket and it doesn't need to be plugged in, if it can be unplugged, then great. Obviously, if it can't, then just switch it off. But yeah, I think like doing things like that, like encouraging, like having these like posters around to say like these are the, can you recycle this? If not, then this is what you should do with it. One of the cool things that I saw while I was on my summer placement was the place I was working had like 3 bins. So they had a general rubbish bin, and they said like these are the things that can go in there. So like there's like tissues. I don't know. There's mainly like things that you can't, I guess, reuse. Then they had like a plastics bin, so or recyclable bin, but they were just like it's what goes in here is like plastics. There's like plastic bottles. Like some mugs. They said if it's like a metal like travel mug, that can be recycled. Things like that. And then they had like a compost bin, which was just like your general food. Tea bags could go in the compost bin, and it was all supposed to like encourage people to like start to separate their waste, because some people might feel like, oh, I've got leftover food, I'm just going to put it in general rubbish, but some foods can actually be used for compost. So that was like a really cool thing. And then like I'd also probably introduce like a glass bin as well, because I know people might be thinking, why would you introduce a glass bin? Like recyclable. If it goes in the recycling, then that means it's perfectly fine. But like the thing is, if like with some glass bins are basically the person when they're taking it out, they'll know that there's glass in there, so they'll be aware of if like sometimes when people like chuck glass in recycling, they don't necessarily like drop it in. They just like either chuck it, throw it in. So sometimes that can cause the glass to break, and if people aren't aware of it, it can either like rip the bags, all the things will like when the person comes to take out the rubbish, take out the recycling, it can either cause it to rip, or it can actually hurt the person who's taking it away. So having that separate glass bin can just be a good way to add an extra layer of protection to the individual who's doing the job of like taking out the recycling. But it also, ensures that when it comes to sorting out all the recycling at the process center, they don't have to spend time like saying these are plastics and these are, metals and these are glass. They'll already know like from the bags that this is a glass. This is like a glass bag of. This is a bag of like glass waste. This is a bag of like plastic waste, and then this is a bag of like metal waste. But yeah, those would probably be the things that I would love to see Brunel change, and would change if I had the power.
Those are really good ideas for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna confess something right now.
Okay.
Last year I did a bit I worked with the student switch off like campaign and all that, and I
Okay.
think I was a bit annoying with that. Like in my hall, I used to switch off all the sockets like after like just in the kitchen for everyone, and people like used to get like super mad at it. Uh, because like they would go to the stove or the oven or that, and
Hmm.
it's just not working, and they would just spend time just waiting there for it to heat up, and it wasn't even turned on. So, yeah, but I mean, we're saving energy right there. I
Exactly.
mean, I didn't know about that. What you're saying about the glass as well. That completely like just um I didn't even think of that. Like, cause yeah, glass does shred the bags if it's just
Mm.
there in the shards, and that can be like problematic for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed as well, like over here back at home, because I am not
Mm.
currently in the UK,
Okay.
there is way more like recycling, like legit, like big, general recycling bins outside, compared to the UK.
Mm.
It's much more of a thing here. So, and that was like a bit of a culture shock when I was there. Like, it's not as prevalent. Like, it's not as yeah. Not everyone like has access to that. Like, here in my neighborhood, like if I look like in this block, there's like two sets of these recycling bins on either side of the block. Like, I only have to
Mm.
walk so much, and it's like part of the state. Like, garbage truck just comes in, lifts the bins, and just recycles it, just like that. And the UK, like, it's not as it's not as doesn't exist like that over there. Like, and that was
Yeah.
quite shocking to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things um, that's quite interesting is like when you can see like there's loads of different research into I guess how culture also affects like environmentalism. Um, so I know like in my family like from a I guess like I'm from Nigeria, so from like an and I know like a lot of other like African families do this, especially like Nigerian families, is they encourage this like process of like hand me down. So like I know like especially like growing up, quite a lot of things I got from my older brother. Um, because they'd just be like, if it's like it's still really nice, if it's a nice top, then why like bin it instead of like keeping it there?
Hmm.
So it's like one of the things that is really interesting, and you'll be like surprised so much of like how culture can be like a huge influencer. So like you said, like it like they look at like streets. So if a street has a recycling bin, close to its residence and it's clearly identified, it clearly has the different options so people can do their clothing, they can do plastics, glass, all these different things. And then they'll like look and see the next street. It's not on their street. It's kind of a bit far away from all the houses, but it's still somewhere that they can go. They'll review and say, will one street recycle more? And it will just like surprise you how many people will. Even like I guess the like what the streets used for. So if it's like a one way road where there's nothing at the end of the road, but if people walk in one direction, they'll go towards like the train station, or they'll go towards play like I don't know, like a car park or something that they would need to go to like get into the city. It can be really interesting there as well because sometimes they'll put the recycling points at these locations because it will always like stick into a person's mind of, oh, when I'm going to work or when I'm going to top up fuel in my car, or I'm going to go to the park, like I know there's a recycling point at the end of my road, so I can just when I'm going out I can just take all my recycling with me and I can just put it in there. So yeah, there's definitely like a culture influence when it comes to assessing like how people react to it, and even like generational, you'll see like how some people from an older generation might not care as much because they feel like it won't affect them as much. Younger people, because it's more of a direct effect, and in our lifetime, it's more likely going to affect us. That's why we might be easier to, convince to take on these habits. And like you said with the switches, some people might not like it now, but if you tell them that, by turning off switches, it means you're going to have loads of energy in the future, it's that whole idea of like having, I guess, a short-term loss or short-term, disturbance for a long-term gain. And even like it's the same with like with water use, because you'd be like again, like one of the things that you learn is when it comes to water use, there's like so much water in around the world, like 70% of the world I think is made of it, but of that amount of water I think it's only like 1% that we actually drink. And like some countries, like don't have a, some countries don't have access to the amount of like aquifers or places where we get our drinking water from. So what was interesting is a couple of years ago, Johannesburg was going to be like the first city that would run out of drinking water. Um, and they had to like, yeah, like it was like
Really?
crazy. Yeah, honestly, it was like crazy. They had to like, they were like, people were like starting to use collect water in plastic bottles. And then what was really interesting is I think they announced it in 2018 that, this is like, I guess they didn't nickname it D-Day, but it was like basically like, I think they called it Zero Day. It was going to be the day where there'd be no more drinking water in Johannesburg. But then what they realized is by like managing people's water usage, so, encouraging them to, make sure a tap's switched off, don't leave a tap running if you don't need it to. Being mindful of your water usage, it helped to like extend it. So luckily they've never reached that point of like lacking water. And they're still okay, they're still drinking water, but it's been managed so well. So having like that cultural shift can sometimes people think if you give people a date and you say by let's say the 27th of February you need to do this, it will encourage them that whether young, old, whatever culture or background they're from, they'll know that I need to make sure that I start to manage it on a personal record. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting topic and aspect of environmental science that does get looked into it, and looking at these like cultural opinions and shifts.
I mean, for sure, for sure. Do you have any questions, Kamal? Or because I do have like one last question as well, because we are like running low on time.
No, I just want to say it's been really interesting to listen to answer these questions because it's just blown my mind as well. There's loads of things that I didn't know. For example, the thing that you just said about water and that everything that has that little green sign on it isn't recyclable. I didn't know that. So it's been really eye-opening. And I do think that if people just educate themselves a bit more by simply listening to this podcast, listening to ones that you're going to be doing, it'll just be better for the environment and our futures as well. So I just want to say thank you for enlightening us today.
You're welcome. And honestly, I always love telling people about these interesting facts and tweaking about the environment. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So two last questions. Okay, this is like a fun one. What's the thing you enjoy more about the whole society? Like you running the society and the society as a whole?
My favorite thing. I'd say my favorite thing is, I guess, being able to support like different students and like see these students being passionate and to point them in the right direction. I'd say one of the things that I felt like in first year that when especially like with this project thing with environmental science, one of the things I felt of is you would always like have a project idea or you might have a passion, but then you'd like never know like where to go or what to do. And you feel like you're always at these like stumbling blocks, and you can't do a lot about it, and you're trying to make something work and it's not working. So I think one of the things I've really liked about being on the committee is being able to support like whether it's environmental science students or other students who are passionate about the environment, telling them, oh, if you want to start up a campaign about plastic pollution, this is who you need to contact, and they'll get back to you and give you this information. Because yeah, it's been really good to like see the amazing work that these like individuals and groups do, and just being able to point them in the right direction and support them, something that I wished I would have had when I started, because that would have made things like so much easier. But yeah, it's nice to know that you're helping out someone else and you're supporting someone.
It is super glad to see like you guys are just very passionate about this whole environmental aspect. It is just very reassuring to see for sure. So for anyone interested in joining the society, how could they find you guys?
So if anyone's interested, if they go to the Brunel Student Union or Students of Brunel Union of Brunel Students website, And if they go to it's Brunel, once they go to the society page, A to Z, you'll see environmental science or environmental sciences. Our membership is free, so whether that's for current students or for people who've recently graduated, it's completely free. And if you just purchase it there, and then once you've purchased it, we'll send you an email to say, thanks for joining the society. We've got a little WhatsApp group which we use to like announce different things, whether it's like a interesting event that we've been forwarded by our lecturers, or if it's another episode of our podcast. So if you can't find it on the union website, you can either go to our Instagram or Twitter page, which both are Brunel Environmental. And yeah, just click on the link in the bio, and then you'll be able to find out more about us.
Honestly, I think that's a great way to conclude this. I think
Oh,
you were great, Jeffrey. For sure.
thank you.
Um, you we got to learn about a lot about the society, a lot about the course as well, and a lot of these fun facts, like both me and Kamal had no idea about. Like, I'm just mind blown for sure about some of these facts.
Oh no, thank you. Like I said, thank you for having me. It's been great to talk about these issues, and like I said, I always like telling people about these interesting facts. I didn't know them about myself. I didn't know them myself, but I've always liked to inform people because like Kamal said, it's this idea of educating others and educating people themselves to know about these things is going to be one of the first steps to getting more people involved with tackling environmental issues. So yeah, I'm always happy to talk about it.
It was for sure great having you here. But yeah, let shall we just end it here for sure then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're so yeah, you've advertised already, so I think that's a good point to end this. Unless you want to say anything else, Kamal, as well.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Cool, cool. So thank you all for joining. Those who have been here in the chat, we've had like up to 5 viewers. Quite good for it to be
Mm.
live. So yeah, guys. I think we'll do this again on Friday. We'll either have the podcast or do some gaming sessions on Friday. You're free to join as well if you do want to join again. Um, but yeah, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Most importantly, see you guys some other time for sure. Bye bye.